done watering down the truth. I'm done. I'm done trying to please others. I'm done. I'm done waiting for your opinion. I'm done. I'm done living in a corner. I give myself permission to live. I trust where God is taking me. New heights, new mountains. Mountains I will climb. I will fight. I get it. There will be hard times. I know things will come up, and people will say things. People will try to stop me. I will try to stop myself. I will want to give up, and I will fall. I will say it's too hard. I will feel defeated. When that voice gets so loud in my mind and tries to drown out my own voice, I will grab a hold of it. I must get up. I can get up. I will get up. It starts with me. I will fight for what's right. No one will stop me. No one will define me. Why? Because I am called. I am strong. I am beautiful. I am intelligent. I am worthy. I have purpose. And I am more than enough. Now, I don't know how many of you in this room know me and know my story, but for a long time, I struggled with saying the words, I am enough. I grew up in the inner city part of Akron. I had a great upbringing. I have 8 brothers and sisters to whom I'm very close with. I graduated from high school. I was homeschooled all of my life. Whoop, whoop, homeschool. And I'll do a quick little shout out to my mom, who's sitting right over there, to whom I'm so grateful is here, and my sister. But I had a great upbringing, and I graduated a little bit early and went straight to college, to where I planned to get my degree in early childhood education. I then put college on a hold when I got engaged to my high school sweetheart. I got married at the age of 19. We had a beautiful wedding here in Ohio. Lots of family and friends. Then I packed up everything and I moved to California, where I would begin my new life as a wife. We moved to California because my husband at the time was stationed in California for the U.S. Marines. I got married in August 2007, and I found out in November of 2007 that I was expecting. I was extremely excited and very nervous all at the same time. However, I was thankful that I got to share all of these emotions with my husband. We met a lot of wonderful couples in California, and we became very close with many of them. It was an exciting time in my life. I'm not sure how many, I'm not sure, what your stories were when you were a little girl, but up until this point, all of my dreams were coming to pass. I was married to my best friend, I moved to a sunny state, and I was now expecting a baby. In this next part, I'm going to tell you how I became single. In February of 2007, I found out that my husband was having an affair on me for the last few months. I then became very distressed and I felt very defeated. Because of everything that I was going through at the time and just finding out all of this, it kind of took me for a toll, and I was losing a lot of weight and very sick, in the hospital a little more than probably should be. I remember very vividly one day standing in my upstairs hallway, and I was talking with my ex, and he said, my husband at the time, he said, I think maybe you should just consider an abortion. I think that everything would just be a little bit easier. I remember running down the stairs trying to get away from the noise, and I almost made it to the bottom when I fell. And then it hit me. It was at that point that I really started to fear where my life was headed. I cried out to God, asking why he would allow all of this to happen to me. I never dreamed of being a single mom, let alone at the age of 19. So I told myself that it wasn't going to happen to me, that I was going to fix it. I fought to stay in a toxic, dangerous marriage, all to avoid becoming another young single mom. After many restless nights and, we trying to talk in between, and, we said we were going to just work everything out, and it just came to a point where, I didn't feel as if, I could hold on anymore. There were many restless nights, and I wanted it so bad, but I think I know God had another plan. A couple of counseling sessions, and is when I realized that I could no longer fight for a marriage that was less than what God had intended. It's so funny how God does not ask us if we are ready for our next step. He simply just gives us our next step when he feels as if we are ready. And it's simply up to us to just take it. You can say yes to moving forward, or you can say no and stay where you are. I humbled myself and submitted to God's plan and moved back to Ohio. Jesus is literally always calling us to take a step as we follow him. I feel as if there were 5 things that I had to realize before I could actually take the step in moving back. And 1 was I must be willing to surrender. 2 was I had to give it up. 3, I had to remember God doesn't want to take from me. He wants to give to me. I had to trust the process. I had to realize that even through all of this, I had not arrived. So 1, I had to be willing to put God's will above mine. It's so hard sometimes. Sometimes I feel like I want to be in control. I think we all do at some times. We feel as if we know what's best for us. I had to give it up. I had to get to a place where I was willing to sacrifice. I had to get uncomfortable. I had to no longer hold on to a broken marriage. I had to remember God doesn't want to take from me. He wants to give to me. This one was tough for me. I had to realize I had to realize he was not pushing me to punish me. He simply needed me to kind of step away from my marriage so that he could begin to use me in a new way. I had to trust the process. I believe Jesus uses sacrifices and circumstances to help us rely fully on him. I never really quite understood why he would allow me to become pregnant if my marriage wasn't going to work out, but clearly he had it all figured out. I had to realize that even through all of this, I had not arrived. One thing I know about God is that he's in the faith business, and he's constantly pushing us. And I knew that this was only the beginning for me. God will continue pushing us to take steps of faith. It's up to us to be obedient to those next steps. After I realized all of this, and it was, of course, not overnight, this is when I humbled myself and submitted to God's plan. I said yes to leaving what I knew, and I relied fully on God. And that is when I moved back to Ohio, and my divorce was then finalized April 28th of 2009. What did becoming a divorced single mom look like for me? Not pretty, let's put it that way. When the divorce was finalized, it took me a while to accept it. So I wore my wedding ring for several months afterwards in public, just because I was fearful that people would be judging me. To walk around with a baby and no ring, I know, silly to most, but I just felt like I would be judged. I clearly had a lot of insecurities. I felt so incomplete when I finally took off my ring for good. Then it hit me, over 53% of American women are unmarried. So does that mean that those 53% of women who don't have wedding rings aren't complete? I don't believe so, and in the Bible it says so. Found in Colossians 2:10, and I read, "And you are complete in him who is at the head of all rule and authority." And then again in 2 Corinthians 5:17, and I read, "This means that anyone who belongs to Christ has become a new person, and the old life is gone, a new is begun." God created us as a whole. He did not say we had to be married or become the CEO or start a nonprofit or even bear a child or anything else to be complete. We were made complete when he began a new work in us. I finally reached a point where I realized I didn't need a ring to be complete. Thank God, that was a long time coming. And yes, I say a lot, singleness is not a sickness. It is something that I truly believe. For so long, I viewed my singleness as a sickness. I felt ill, I felt incomplete, not worthy of being called mom. I had this silly picture in my mind that being a divorced mom looked like I was incapable of being a wife. I couldn't grasp the idea of possibly playing both roles. I couldn't get a hold of the idea of me possibly doing this thing called parenting alone. Had I continued to believe singleness was a sickness, I would have missed this entire season that Jesus has for me. Singleness is not a sickness, singleness is a reality. Walking in my singleness, this journey is not easy at all. I've struggled so much. I've lost jobs unexpectedly. I've had an empty refrigerator. I've come home to no lights. I've missed bills. I've gotten an eviction notice. And I've gone into my room to cry, just so my son doesn't see me, to come out and pretend everything is okay. I've been in car accidents after car accidents. I've tried to start up businesses just to put food on the table. I've dated just to try and fill a void. You name it, I've been there. I wasn't really given an option to become a single mom. I planned to be married to one guy my entire life. This is just how the cards played out. Apparently, God saw something in me that I didn't see in myself. Since I've become a single mom, my eyes have been opened to a whole new world. My heart is forever changed. I have this burning pain for single moms. They all have their own stories. Some like mine, some very different. I believe what the enemy tried to use against me, God turned around for my good. I wouldn't wish this life on anyone. However, God has a plan for me, and I know it's a good one, and I choose to be content. I'm excited where God is taking me. Yes, there are challenges, and yes, I am constantly fighting to say yes, like when Noelle asked me to speak today, because I am not a professional speaker. I challenge you to find contentment in your situation. Oh, it's going to be hard, but I truly believe that you will not be obedient to your next step if you don't find contentment in where you are. You have to be able to fully trust God. This next verse is what I live by, and it's found in Philippians 4:12 through 13, and I read, I know what it is to be in need, and I know what it is to have plenty. I have learned the secret of being content in every situation, whether well-fed or hungry, whether living in plenty or in want. I can do all things through Christ who gives me strength. Today I can say with confidence, I have lived in my home for almost 7 years. My lights are on, my refrigerator is full, I have all my bills paid to date, and I just started a local jewelry company that's blowing up, and God is blowing my mind, literally. This is where I challenge you. If you're not too mean, I would suggest you high-five your neighbor and tell them, if he did it for me, he can do it for you. Today, I can confidently stand in front of you and say, not only am I single, I am single and content, and I choose to be obedient to my next step. I have a handsome son, to who, let me see if I can figure this out. Oh, wait, come back. Oh, no. I don't know what happened.
Wow, I don't know how to do
Well, maybe I'll show you a picture, but if not, I'll tell you a little bit about him. I have a handsome son. He is very intelligent. I say he's my little engineer. Oh, there he is. That's my son, Brian. He is 9. He is very intelligent, very adventurous. Most of all, he has a pure heart and he loves Jesus. And I am so honored that he gets to call me Mom. That's him again. As I close today, let's remember that we will be faced with challenges. God will always be calling us to take another step. It is fully up to us to grab a hold of our thoughts and any self-doubts that may come up along the way. And let's remember those 5 steps. We first must surrender to God's will, because it is greater than our own. Then we have to give up and let go and be willing to sacrifice a lot. Thirdly, we must remember that God is not against us, He is for us. He does not want to take from us, but He wants to give to us. Next, let's always remember to trust the process. I truly believe that He does use our circumstances to strengthen us. It may look like everything is going wrong because you can't see the end of the tunnel, but hold on and trust the process. God has the world in his hands, and it's already worked out. Finally, let's remember that we have not arrived. God is going to continue to call us to take new steps, and I challenge you to be obedient and take yours.